All right, it's 2 o'clock or close to it. We've got Navy head coach Brian Newberry with us. We'll start off with Mark Berman from the Roanoke Times.
Brian, how you doing there?
Good, Mark. How are you?
All right. Well, you're playing a team from Lexington. You spent a number of years in Lexington. Do you have some fond memories of your time in Lexington?
Yeah, I have a ton of fond memories. Obviously, I was at Washington and Lee, two different stints, and I would say, outside the Naval Academy, my time here, that's been one of my most enjoyable stops. And, great school, got to coach great young men, and really enjoyed living in Lexington and everything that surrounded that town. But a lot of great memories for sure.
What made it such an enjoyable stop for you?
Well, I think really enjoyed coaching the young men that went to school there. It's a fantastic school, and coaching Division III football. I was able to teach class while I was there. I did some racquetball, some mountain biking, some weightlifting. So I got to mingle with just the regular students, which was nice, and had a great staff, guys that I still stay in touch with, and a different level of pressure coaching Division III football. But the players, it was just as important to those guys as it has been anywhere that I've been. So just really enjoyed coaching those young men, and a lot of those guys I still stay in touch with.
Obviously, plenty of coaches, they're in Division 3 and they stay in Division 3. They never get that prize
Mhm.
move up there. Does it ever make you shake your head a little bit, or feel any sense of gratitude of how your journey you wound up going from a D3 assistant to the head coach of the Naval Academy?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think I guess you said I kind of came up the hard way in this profession and have an opportunity to coach Division II and Division III and FCS, and the things that you learn, coaching at Division III football, where you have less staff, you have to do a lot of different things, and certainly in my time, I've done a lot of things, and, from cutting the grass to painting the fields to cleaning locker rooms, and figuring out a way to do more with less resources, and so I think certainly a lot of respect for guys that coach in those ranks and climb their way up.
When you're at WNL, was this always the dream of being a head coach one day, being an FBS head coach one day, or is that kind of thing where when you're at the D3 level, you can't let yourself you think that big?
Yeah, no, I really didn't know at that point in my career where I really wanted to end up. I really enjoyed my time there, enjoyed all I was doing, was content when I was coaching there. And as a young coach, you always maybe looking to have opportunities to climb up the ladder and coach at a little higher level, maybe. But a lot of great Division III football coaches. But yeah, certainly enjoyed my time there. It made me a much better football coach moving forward. I do know that. But as far as my goals and objectives at that time, being a head coach in the Naval Academy would have been beyond my wildest dreams. Being honest, Mark.
Fresh my memory, you had two different stints there. What made you come back after that year at Lehigh?
Yeah, it was an opportunity to coordinate, to be the defensive coordinator, and that was my first time calling it. And so I really wanted to do that. And Frank Arello was the head coach at the time, and legendary coach there at Washington Lee, and gave me that opportunity to come back and do that. And that's when I really got started as coordinator.
What was the big break for you that obviously some said you were able to move up from Division 3? Was it the Kennesaw situation? Was it Navy? Was it Northern Michigan? What kind of you look back and say that was the big break I needed?
Uh, I don't know if I should look at him as a break that I needed necessarily. They were all great experiences, and first job coaching at FCS level was at Elon, which was a great experience for me, obviously. And but yeah, that getting to coach at Kennesaw State, and being part of that program, being a startup program, and getting to see a lot of things. And Brian Bohan, there's the head coach, started that program, learned a ton from him, and got to do everything kind of from the ground up, and that was a great experience for me. And obviously, that ultimately led to the opportunity here at Navy.
Yeah, how did you get your foot in the door when you were able to join the Navy staff?
Yes, this business is all about who you know. I had a previous relationship with Ashley Ingram, who was on staff here at the time, and just crossed paths in recruiting, had some mutual friends, and when the job came up. Ashley knew what we were doing at Kennesaw State, and it was kind of what we were doing defensively. married up really well with what Coach Niamatalolo, the direction that he wanted to go in at the time, and really kind of a perfect marriage. And got a call, flew up the next day, and within 36 to 48 hours, it was done. Pretty easy decision for me.
And then of course you moved up from the Navy staff to being the head coach.
Mhm.
Did you kind of feel that was inevitable, or was that a mind-blowing promotion to you when you got this current job here?
Yeah, certainly the timing of it was a surprise. If I thought did I stick around for a few more years, and if Coach Niamato had retired, if I had opportunity, I would like to have hoped so. So the timeline was moved up a little bit, and we didn't know what was going to happen here, but certainly, I wouldn't be in a position if it hadn't been for the time here as a defensive coordinator, and certainly, obviously grateful for the opportunity.
And if I could ask one more, we talked when Frank passed away, but
Mhm.
just wanted to get some, what did you learn from him when you worked for Frank Muriello at WNL?
One of the best humans that I know. We got the guy that would servant leader would give you the shirt off his back. He was extremely detailed, in everything that he did, and learned a ton from him in that regard. But just to spend a lot of time outside of football with Frank and his family, and everything from fishing to just going and hanging out at his house overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains, and just a phenomenal human being, and gave me some freedom to do some things, and obviously gave me my first coordinator opportunity when he's the guy that handled that defense as the head coach for a long, long time. And so to step back and let me kind of take things over, I always had tremendous amount of respect for how he handled that and mentored me through that process.
I don't remember you having the white beard back then, though.
No, no, it was a little darker back then, not as long.
Thank you.
I had more hair up top though, Mark.
Joe Miller.
Coach, if you could give us a little bit of just your overall thoughts after fall camp and where you think you're at, what you liked, what you didn't like, and kind of just a big picture view of how you think fall camp went for you guys.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I thought it was a really, really solid fall camp, and I've been saying, you look at the work, going back starting in January, it's one of the most consistent teams in regards to the way they show up on a daily basis, and the standard that they bring when they do show up. One of the most consistent teams I've been a part of. So I've been really, really pleased with the work. We've grown a lot through fall camp. A little bit of an injury bug early on in camp, and having to fight through some of that stuff. But some guys, of course, will come back here shortly. Sometimes we have those injuries to key players. It allows some younger guys to get reps and get in there and be the starter. And so it's been good for. Like, we've had a lot of younger guys taking advantage of those opportunities, and like we're at, football the season with some concerns in certain areas, and certainly had we played this past Saturday, I wouldn't have felt great that we were entirely ready, but we're going to need every bit of this week. But like the game plan going in, like where we're at, and just like everybody else in the program, we're just ready to put the ball down and go play.
When did preparation for VMI? It sounds like it's already been, not your typical game week where, obviously you're starting from scratch on the Monday before. How long has this plan been going in for VMI? How long have you been setting in for VMI?
Yeah, we started last Monday. Get 2 solid weeks of prep for those guys. And of course, during camp, Joe, when we're doing some side of ball stuff, we're not going against each other. We will sneak some concepts and things like that in the pass game and run game. So to say we just started on Monday, probably not fair to say that. But as far as breaking up into the scout teams and having those guys simulate, VMI's offense and defense, we started last Monday.
For VMI, they have a new offensive coordinator, but he's been there before. You look at their depth chart. I mean, it's a lot of young players. How much do you look at what they did last year, and how do you prepare for sort of a team with a new play caller in there as their OC?
Yeah, you obviously got to watch what they did last year, and him being there, you would assume they're going to carry over some of the same things, but they're obviously going to do some some different things, and he's going to have his personality on the offense and some concepts that he feels strongly about. So you do as much research as you can. You chase a lot of ghosts, Joe, trying to get ready for this first one. But they do a great job. I mean, they're like us. They need to have a niche on both sides of the football, and offensively, you get a lot of shifting, a lot of formations. You got to be on point with your communication, getting lined up and fitting things correctly, and they really do a good job of keeping you off balance in regards to just how they formation you and those kind of things. So we certainly have a challenge ahead of us, and we do have some young players. I think the quarterback's a very good player, and he got hurt last year, and they've got some young players that they're excited about. Sounds like they feel really good about their offensive line, and so they do some challenging things offensively. They're going to really test us, but excited about the opportunity.
Thanks, Coach.
Wags.
Well, with regard to VMI, I mean, it's a team that went 1-11 last season, had some struggles. This is a game that everyone in the stadium expects you to win. Can you talk about the pressure that goes along with that? I know how you football coaches are, and every game is a challenge. Every game has your full attention. But how do you translate that to the players who are being asked if they're going to win 45-0 or 50-0?
Yeah. But I think the key is not to have expectations on the way the game's going to go or the outcome. The expectation is that we play to our standard, whether it's VMI or anybody else. And so I'm excited to go out and see, you got to look at it as it's Navy versus Navy. How well can we go out? How hard can we play? How well can we execute regardless of the opponent? It's obviously we got no VMI as well as we possibly can, but it's about how well, especially early on in the year, how well can you go out, execute, and play to your standard, and everything else will take care of itself. But in regards to the expectations, that's outside noise that I don't really care much about.
In last season's opener, you all had somewhat of a slow start against Bucknell before you turned it on. That's kind of a good example to the players that you don't just automatically roll. You gotta execute, like you said.
Sure. And we talked about the same thing last year going to that game with Wags, is not to have an expectation of how the game was going to go. Just go play the game. And I thought our kids did a good job of that. Look at the first drive of the game, have miscommunication on the headset and busted covers, give up a touchdown the first drive, and we go 3-and-out on offense. And so it was kicked the ball out of bounds, I think, on the kickoff. So it was a disastrous start, but our kids stayed the course and stayed focused, and I was pleased with the way they responded. But yeah, it's about expectation is about playing to our standard, and that's it.
In terms of the offense, I mean, I think there's going to probably be new wrinkles as the season goes along. Do you feel good about what you've been seeing? Has Coach Cronick shown you a few new, unveiled some new elements that will keep defenses on their toes? Has he been keeping your defense on its toes?
Yeah, absolutely. This offense is always going to evolve, and we've got a lot of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of returning production, and we have to have ways to spread the ball around to those guys, and we got to take a little bit off of Blake's plate, as a ball carrier and those kind of things. So, like where we're at, like what we're doing, certainly you add a couple of things in the off season. Don't want to share too much with your Wags, but you'll see some different things for sure. Wags always trying to get trade secrets.
If I had $1 for every time Wags asked about wrinkles, I could retire.
Hey, and I can't believe you changed your background pick, Wags. I like the old one.
Now you're muted.
The one of me getting the award?
Yeah.
That's on my other phone.
I
Depends which one I'm using.
Yeah.
I'll pass it off. There's other people on here. I want to give others a chance.
Wyckoff.
Yeah, Coach, how impressed have you been with the way that the leaders of this team who had such success last year have been carrying themselves through this point with what they've done in the past, but what they're looking to do in the future.
Really impressed, Scott. I think we got two phenomenal captains, and I think I've been at places before where you go into camp and a lot of your established players, so to speak, kind of get through camp, and these guys didn't do that. They attacked it every day, and our established players are out there, practicing harder than anybody else, trying to get better, and so I've been really pleased with those guys, and really pleased with the senior class and the leadership. It's what I hoped it would be to this point.
When you took over as head coach to this point now, moving into this season, how do you see this team in your image as the football team that you wanted to build over that time period?
Well, I think you talk about culture a lot, and I think it's at a point now where you always want to have a player-led team. That's what you always hope to have, and I think last year's senior class really set the tone and left a legacy for what it's supposed to look like. At this point last year, going into the season, I felt good. Didn't know how it was going to turn out, but I felt good about our football team. I felt like they were a team that did all the right things, and I thought we were a team that deserved to have success. And this team picked up, right where we left off, going back to January. And the thing that I love about this team is there's no sense of entitlement or no sense of feeling that we've arrived by any stretch. Our guys are hungry, still have a chip on their shoulder. Always about, how can we do things better than they've ever been done before? How can we continue to raise the bar? And the word I mentioned earlier is just the consistency, and that's what I'm the most proud of is the way that they show up and go to work every day. And we say it all the time in our program. I didn't coin this phrase. I got credit for it, but consistency is a superpower, and this team has bought into that. And so I've been really, really pleased with that, Scott.
The way this defense has played since you've been at the Naval Academy as a total unit, but when a player like a Landon Robinson evolves like he has, how exciting is that for you as a coach and for his teammates to play around him?
Yeah. He epitomizes everything that the Naval Academy is about and what our program is about. And so when you have a guy like that that's in such a critical leadership role, that does everything the right way, says the right things, but does the right things, and nobody's watching, it's tremendous. And I think the culture on that side of the football, I think Coach Volker and the defensive staff have done a phenomenal job. I couldn't be more excited about where we're at defensively. And a lot of the new faces that you guys are going to see on Saturday, I think are some really, really good players that have worked really hard to get to where they're at. I'm excited to go to cut those guys loose and watch them play.
Who do you think's itching more for the opener? Finally, you or the players?
I would say it's probably about the same.
Thanks a lot.
Probably, maybe the players try to get tired against banging against each other, but we're all excited. It's just a lot of work going back to January to get ready for Saturday. And like I said, I think we've done things the right way. I think this is a team that has done all the right things, that deserves success. Of course, that doesn't guarantee it, right? But when you do that, there's a level of confidence that you have when you go into a game and allows you to go cut it loose.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks, Scott.
Gary Lambrick.
Hey, Coach Newberry.
Hey, Gary.
Working on something with Kenny McShan. And I'd just like you to, from a head coaching standpoint, you got so much on your plate and so much to pay attention to and look out for. But how much space does a guy like McShan occupy in your conscience as he's navigated this unbelievable curveball, unfortunate circumstance, in his career and what he did last year? And could you just get into just that road he's traveled and how much you appreciate everything he's done to get to where he is and looking forward to his last go round?
Yeah. You're always working on something behind the curtains, Gary. I love it. No, Kenny's a phenomenal young man. And for those that don't know his story, overcoming 2 ACL surgeries. Overcoming one is a big enough deal. And right when he gets back to have another one, and to go through that, and just to uh, accept it and attack it the way that he did. Can't always control the things that happen to us, but we can control the way that we respond to them. And he is a brilliant example of that. As a guy who continued to attack it, never felt sorry for himself. I'm sure he had his moments, but on the outside looking in, just inspiration to me and our staff and his teammates. Another guy that epitomizes everything that the academy and Navy football is all about. Always a smile on his face, always a great attitude, a worker. Loved and respected by all of his teammates. Really, you can't say enough good things about Kenny McShan.
When you're watching, a repeat of something like the USF game where he got that first start, finally, when you see what he did and maybe take another look at what he did as you look at the Oklahoma game or that pick he had against Army, does it warm your heart as a coach? Just like that guy deserves that.
Yeah, no question. Every time that something good happens to him, I think if you go back and you watch I think it was maybe the Temple game last year, he got an interception toward the end of the game. When the game was out of hand, the entire sideline is out on the dang field celebrating him. All those guys know what he's been through and how hard he's worked, and to see him have success is, I think, heartwarming for all of us. And he's a really good football player, Gary, and our guys like him being on the field. He's a guy that you want in your foxhole. There's no doubt about it.
Well, my last question is, he was telling me that, I was recruited as a middle linebacker. Then I got hurt and I lost all this weight. And you coaches are like, well, what do we do about that?
Yeah.
Talk about his adjustment at outside. He says you got to have a screw loose to play striker, but I'm in.
Yeah. Just another example of a guy that's willing to do anything to help the football team. And it wasn't even a question when we asked him to make the move. He embraced it, and yeah, he lost a little bit of weight. And, he was a really athletic will linebacker. And even I think he was 220, maybe 225 pounds. And so lost weight, trimmed up a little bit, and then now fits that profile of a striker. But he could probably go back in. I mean, he's big and physical enough to go in, and he could play will for us. There's no doubt about it. But he's more suited to play striker for us. And we wanted to get him on the field, try to figure out a way to do that. And that was a natural fit for him.
Thanks, Brian. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Gary.
Randy Cross.
Coach, strength and conditioning programs. I mean, everybody brags about their weight room and brags about what they do in the off season, but what are some of the ways you've seen that really sort of translate for your team early on here?
Yeah, well, I said it a year ago when camp started that we look different. We're bigger, faster, stronger. Said the same thing again this year, and Coach Critchy's been at it for 2.5 years now, and I can't overstate the impact that he's had on our program, and not just getting bigger, faster, stronger, all those measurable type of things, but impact on the culture here as well. It's a guy that echoes, my message and the way that we do things, and holds guys accountable. He's put together a tremendous staff along with him with some really, really good coaches down there. And you just really can't say enough about the job that he's done and the culture that he's helped create. Phenomenal.
I guess hesitation isn't the right word for it, but when you look at starting 2 young offensive tackles, what are sort of a few of the questions about that?
Yeah. Well, I think we've got 9 guys that are gonna start their first game for Navy on Saturday, and so there's no substitution for live game reps, right? But those young offensive linemen are going to be really good players, and they've grown tremendously since going back to spring ball and through fall camp. But you're always concerned with your younger players, especially guys that haven't had those live bullets fired at them. But those guys are going to be just fine. It's not to say that, there's not some concerns that we have, and we're kind of working through the different pieces, with our offensive line right now, and we're a work in progress. But I'm confident that those guys will just continue to get better. The more that they play. Like Coach Guillermo and Lauren have done a phenomenal job with the offensive line.
You've seen this offensive coach Chronics now for a little over a year, live and in action for you, and against you in practice. How much better or how much more improved could that offense be with a legitimate tight end?
Yeah, well, I think we have a legitimate tight end, and I think that was one of the things I really wanted to be able to incorporate in our offense, is the ability to use one, even two tight ends at some point. But I think that's helped us a lot. But I love what we're doing. It's exactly what I wanted to do. Having a guy like Coach Chronic, who's really, really good. He's a great play caller. He understands his personnel. He knows how to get the right people to football. He knows how to take advantage of our strengths. Keeps people off balance. I love what we're doing offensively, and to be in it, in the second year in the system, I think to have the continuity that we've had on the offensive side of the football now is going to be really impactful for the season. Blake's second year in the system, being able to put a little bit more on his plate in regards to getting us in the perfect play or the right play, and being able to choice some things. His grasp of the offense is really, really good right now. So excited about being in this system for the second year and to see what we can do with it.
Hey, can openers ever be worry-free, or is an opener just by its basic nature, no matter what you are as a coach, assistant, analyst, coordinator, whatever, there's stress, there's worry?
Yeah, there's no game, Randy, that's worry-free. Especially the first one. You feel like you know who your team is, but you don't know until you roll that ball out. But I've got calls to be optimistic and be confident going into the first game. Like I said, you've always got your concerns. But I like this football team, and I'm ready to put it down. And I'm sure there's going to some things that are going to happen on Saturday. We're not going to play perfect. We never will. And there's going to be some things we come out of that game saying we're going to have to do a lot better to win the next one. But it's just excited to go play.
Right. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy.
Tim Nolan.
Brian, just one for me. Want to keep this moving, but as you look at another school year starting for your players, it's often assumed when people talk about the extra rigor and all the different responsibilities here at the Naval Academy. But what impresses you the most about the way that your players go about their business, especially once classes begin?
Yeah, what impresses me most, just all the things that they juggle, and that they juggle really well. We talk about compartmentalizing a lot around here, right? When you're on campus, right, that's where your feet need to be, right? Not thinking about football and vice versa. And so, we don't get them for a ton of time. So when they're over here in the building, they've got to be really locked in. We've got to be really efficient with the way that we do things. And I don't think people really realize all that these guys have on their plates, but they handle it really, really well. When you play Division I football, to carry the academic load and have the military responsibilities that they do, it's a huge load. And we talk a lot about how to manage that, and they do a really good job with it.
Thank you.
We've got about 8 minutes left. I'll just go right back around the horn. 2 questions. Mark Berman.
Brian, when you get ready to play an FCS team like VMI, do you feel like the big advantage for you is going to be depth and wearing the guys down on the VMI side in the second half, or is it more about a size advantage or a speed advantage?
Yeah. I don't think that, maybe with the depth would be an advantage for us potentially, especially in the first game. There's not many times we line up, Mark, we're the most talented team on the field, and VMI's got some talented players. And, I think there are a lot of similarities between us and VMI. I think they're a very, very well coached football team, have a ton of respect for Coach Rocco, the job that he's done at a lot of different places. He's one of the most respected coaches in our profession. Their players, they're going to play extremely hard. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to play together, and so they're cut like our guys in a lot of ways. And so this is going to be a challenge for us. There's no doubt about it. And having coached FCS football and having a chance to play an FBS game is a big deal, for those guys. It's a great opportunity for them, and I know they're going to be up. I know we're going to get their best shot. So there's a lot of things I'm concerned about, and we're going to have to play well.
You're expected to be one of the better teams in the group of five this year. For you, when you look at your team, what's the biggest difference between the 5-win team from a couple of years ago and the one that won 10 games last year and is expected to have another good year this year?
The difference between my first year, yeah, I think obviously the emergence of Bogart was huge for us and for what we do. Having a quarterback in the system is critical. The addition of Coach Cronick as the offense coordinator. The previous 4 years, we were inept, might not be the best word, but just weren't scoring points, weren't moving the football, weren't getting first downs, weren't keeping our defense off the field. So the improvement on the offensive side of the football was pretty dramatic last year, and that's been the biggest difference. And we've continued to play really good football on the defense side, and I think, the addition of Coach Carissi and that strength staff and the way we've been able to develop our players, the way we've been able to recruit the last 2 years, it just keeps getting better.
Joe Miller, got about 5 minutes.
Yeah, Coach, you talked a little bit about taking giving some, taking some off the plate for Blake as a ball carrier. From that slot back position, not that I want to see Brandon and Eli not out there, but do you ideally want a little bit more diversity from that snipe position as far as either receiving or just get more snaps from a multitude of people from that snipe position?
Yeah, I think the thing last year, Joe, was the depth of slot wasn't great. I think we've got depth now, and you feel really good about your 2 deep, even your 3 deep at those snipe spots. So I'm excited about some of those young players. They're going to have to be playmakers for us. And so that's the biggest difference, I think, Joe, is just the depth we have there and the versatility of those guys. Been really pleased with the slots.
And one last quick one for me. We talk a lot about the tackles on the offensive line, but you also have to replace Brent Self, who pretty much took almost every snap last season at center. I know you got 2 guys listed there with the or. Do you want to settle on one guy here early on, or you want to give them both an opportunity over the first few weeks to kind of figure things out at that position? Because obviously that's a huge position.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys take snaps at center, and a lot of guys are very capable. You certainly like to settle in on one guy, and Cam Nichols has been banged up, throughout camp. We moved him to center, full time. Was really impressed with what he was doing. But we've got 3 or 4 guys that can snap the football, and that may be, you kind of have to juggle some things with the offensive line. And we've got some guys that have, played tackle and guard, guys that have played guard and center. And so we want to get our best 5 on the field whenever that pans out. Our best 5 healthy guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Wags, we got time for maybe one. We got 3 minutes.
Well, I'll do a double run question. Is Coach Guillermo said 2 weeks ago there was a chance Nichols would be back for the opener. Does it look like he will be?
No, unlikely.
And is there any other key players that are not likely to play in the opener?
Not that I would discuss right now. There's a lot of guys that are healing up toward the end of last week and this week. It's probably about as much as I'll say about that, Wags.
Okay. The Navy football podcast starts this week. Are you anxious and excited to listen to all of our analysis?
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I'll send you the week.
Anyone have anything else? We got 2 minutes. All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.